Hey, welcome to Route 66, our journey through the Bible. We are well over halfway, and we're in the book of Proverbs. Some really great sayings that are in there. It's the guidebook to wisdom, God's wisdom book, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book in the Bible. So we just have 3 chapters today. And again, I've said it before, the Proverbs isn't like one chapter devoted to one topic. You'll find topics of different areas, but every now and then they clump them together, the writer. A lot of the Proverbs were written by Solomon, but there's some others that were written by other wise people. And the Bible doesn't even say, we're not sure who compiled it all together, but boy, I'm sure glad that they did. And they're not just wise saying like Confucius or, somebody like that. These are wise sayings that God has inspired and decided to place in his Bible. So they are not only humanly wise, they are divinely wise. Proverbs chapter 5 talks about immorality, especially sexual immorality. And God is very honest. God designed sexual attraction, but that can be very dangerous. And it may look sweet, it may look good, but if you don't keep it in its proper lane, it can be destructive. And we need to do that. And it also talks about that we should rejoice in faithful love. You see, when God gives us something enjoyable like that, or like eating, or any other thing that God says, I want you to do and I want you to enjoy it, there's a time and a place for it to be enjoyed. And God says the environments. And when we step out of that, when we step beyond what God has said, it may seem enticing and good, and maybe for a while it is. The writer of Hebrews says sin is, pleasurable for a season, but it leads to destruction. Proverbs 8 encourages us not to be lazy, not to be deceitful, and it continues, not to get into sexual sins. I think it's interesting that Solomon, who wrote many of the Proverbs, that was one of his downfalls, and all these things will lead to ruin. The bad thing is they don't ruin us right away. You can do something wrong, you can be lazy, and it's not, you just got money in the bank, but pretty soon if you start living a life that's not where you ought to be, it's going to catch up to you. Proverbs chapter 7 is a strong warning against seduction. Seduction and the devastating consequences of giving into that. I just point blank where it's at. God has given us one of our greatest gifts of this lifetime in the area of sexuality, an attraction between a man and a woman. And that is bound by a marriage covenant. And when you get beyond that, when you get beyond a man and a woman, when you get beyond a marriage covenant, somebody that you're not married to, whether it be before marriage or after, what, it'll lead to destruction. And he's saying, stay away from that. It will harm you in the long run. So what are some lessons? Well, one lesson is temptation often disguises itself with flattery and beauty, and it looks good, but it's like a beautiful piece of fruit that on the inside it's spoiled. And that's what it leads to. A second lesson is discipline and moral integrity will protect your future. Being able to tell yourself no and having a moral integrity to do the right thing will save you from a whole heap of trouble in your future. And a third lesson, God's wisdom is your safeguard against those subtle, self-destructive choices that we can make. We should, when we come to decisions, what would God have me to do? What has God said I should do? Instead of how do I feel, or how many people say this? What does my heart tell me? Sometimes my heart tells me the wrong thing. I need to know, what does God tell me? What does God want me to do? And that will help me to make the right choices that in the long run, I'll be glad I did. So enjoy your reading of Proverbs today. It's going to be